All right. Today on the podcast, we are bringing on Natalie Hummel. Natalie is a high performance coach, somatic practitioner, and a competitive equestrian athlete herself. Natalie, can you explain a little bit more about what you do and how you help equestrians?
Yeah. So what I do is there's lots of moving parts to it, but your nervous system is dictating 80 to 85% of your thoughts, feelings, and therefore behaviors. And your nervous system is a pattern. And that pattern was formed sometime between the ages of 0 to 14 or 0 to 7. There's some discussion there. And that's kind of your main neural programming that happens. And then there's also very real threats, biological threats that your nervous system picks up on that aren't programmed, that are instinctual. And so what I do is I help people deal with the patterned things that got formed from about 0 to 14 because a lot of those patterns, statistically about 70% of them aren't conducive to your desired outcomes. And so what I do is I really help people look at that and say, okay, what are these patterns that are really holding you back? That your ego, your mind is making a lot of meaning and identifying with those patterns, saying these patterns, this way of thinking, feeling, and believing is who and what I am. And really it's no more than a pattern. So I help people update those patterns. And then when you're in a more neutral place, you're not operating from this old operating system that you got when you were, between 7 and 14. Then, competition is by nature a cue of danger. It's, evolution is the survival of the fittest. So competition is mimicking that. So it's not perceived that you're being judged. It's very real that you're being judged. And your nervous system has a response to that. And I can help you with that response to have a more optimal outcome. So there's kind of two parts. There's the what I call the healing part, how to heal, and then there's how to perform. And so we take care of both of that from the nervous system perspective.
That's really interesting. Like I told you before, I had never really heard of what you do before. Like, I thought that it was a really interesting topic, and I'm really excited to keep learning about it. What are the main issues that people come to you with that you can help them with?
Yeah, people when they come to me, they're really feeling stuck. There's a part of them that thinks, "Wow, I feel like I'm designed for more." I feel like there's a part of me that is meant to be doing bigger things. There's kind of this instinct that I'm not really actualizing in the way that I'm meant to, but they feel really blocked. They feel like there's something limited about them. There's something inherently lacking that they're either just not good enough or not powerful enough or not disciplined enough or something about them is not optimal to get where they're wanting to go.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so how did you start learning about this, and then what inspired you to then take this forward to equestrians and make it a business?
Yeah, how I got interested in this is a super long, windy road. I think at the bottom of my core personality, I'm an optimizer. I really like to see things working optimally, and it's kind of like a sixth sense. I see something and I'm like, oh, that's not it. It's almost like hearing a note out of key when things aren't optimal, when things aren't acting as they could, I really see that. And so, I don't know, it started really early, kind of noticing patterns and seeing like, "Oh, I wonder if there's a way to fix that or enhance that or to help with that." And I guess if we follow it all the way back, I started riding horses, I don't know, about 9 or 10, and then I started teaching riding lessons about 16 and I got really engaged with my students and I really wanted to see them succeeding. And I saw them through certain things that I found really interesting. And I always thought, in my next life, I'm going to be a psychologist. Like I'm going to do this horse thing full out, but in my next life, I'll be a psychologist. And then life gave me the chance to be a psychologist. I had a series of events happen on the equestrian side that I thought, okay, I'm gonna choose a different path now. And so I went to school and I went pretty full into school and I got really curious about psychology and I worked in a research lab, a learning and performance lab was the title of the lab. And so I did a lot of research on what makes people learn, what makes people perform well. And I just kind of followed that interest, but I found school to be not the end of the road, it wasn't really getting to the root of the issue. When we were diagnosing people, it was like, okay, they have ADHD. But why do they have ADHD? Because they have ADHD symptoms. Why do they have ADHD symptoms? Because they have ADHD. And that just wasn't quite good enough for me. I was like, no, there has to be a reason that people have ADHD. There has to be a reason that the neurology of the brain acts divergently, or there has to be a reason that there's this emotional way of being that people are really suffering. And so I posed this to my professors, and they're like, yeah, you're not going to learn that in school. You're going to learn how to diagnose people. And if you go the clinical psychology route, then you diagnose. And then if you go the other route, then you prescribe. So that wasn't good enough for me. So I talked to them, and they're like, yeah, you got to figure this out, but you're not going to figure it out here. And then that took me on a whole nother route. Like I kind of was like, all right, I'm going to take a break, and I ended up teaching school in Thailand,
Oh,
and I thought that that was gonna be a break, but, unfortunately for me, I have this optimization pattern, so I found all these holes in the school system and all these holes in the curriculum and how we were handling kids, and I was like, "Well, I guess I'm not taking a break." And I got to work on like, okay, why do kids behave this way in school? Like, what's really going on here? Because the way I was taught to discipline them wasn't working, and it was actually creating more separation, more resistance between me and my students, and I didn't really like that. So I learned about attachment theory. I just kind of started doing my own research, and I learned about attachment theory. And then even with that, that gave me a lot of information, but it kind of stopped there. It was like, okay, we attach to our parents growing up, and I can give you guys more information, but basically I learned about attachment theory, and then I was like, okay, but what creates attachment? Like, what is this operating system, that everybody's kind of referring to, but nobody's saying? And then so very long story, caught not very short, but as short as I can, then I learned the nervous system, which made everything kind of fall into place. And what I learned is if you meet people's need for safety, emotional safety, and you just hearing that, you might not relate to that. So I can describe it in more depth. But if you meet that need, that very basic survival need, everything shifts and everything changes. And I started seeing immediate difference in my students. I started seeing like things that would take me a month to teach, they were learning in a day because I was meeting their emotional need of safety. They were on my side. There was congruency in the classroom. There's congruency between me and them. And everything just seemed to work really, really smoothly. So I was like, oh, okay. So if this worked with children, then this has to work with adults. And I was like, actually, kids are really easy to fix. And I was like, "Maybe I should try this out with adults." And then so that kind of took me down the line of figuring out what I needed to learn to be a really good practitioner, and that took me to polyvagal theory, which is the theory of the nervous system, somatic training, so on and so forth. And then when I started doing this, I didn't intend to work with athletes or equestrians specifically. I really just kind of wanted to heal the world. I was like, "Hey guys, I have these tools. You're gonna feel amazing. You're gonna feel like these misunderstandings, these limited thoughts you have about yourself, like you're not gonna believe them anymore. You're gonna be unlimited." But it just happened that, I grew up in the equestrian world. So all my peers and people I had know of were like, "Hey, can you teach me how to do this? Like, can we work together?" So it was just kind of a natural progression. And then the more and more I got into coaching at equestrians, then it kind of grew to all athletes. And I really realized like, wow, this is really helpful for optimizing performance.
yeah, that is so incredible. I've listened to a lot of podcasts that kind of touch on what you've mentioned here, and it's just really cool that you've taken it to a whole nother level and then found all the answers yourself and just never take, well, this is what it is for an answer. And you just want to keep learning and then see a difference in the people. So kudos to you for pursuing what your heart wanted you to.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So tell us a little bit more about the meeting the emotional safety need. What exactly does that mean? And then let's take it to when we're getting ready to compete. How does the emotional safety come into play when we step into the arena?
Okay, so stay with me here. So we all have nervous systems, right? And we all have these instincts to survive, right? We all know that. That's pretty easy. Like horses flee, we do a series of things. We flee, we fight, and we shut down like a turtle. And we also can fight like a shark. So we have all of these instincts in our internal system that's all wrapped in the nervous system. And so our nervous system runs off of safety, like how much perceived safety is in the environment. And so that can mean like follow it all the way back to when we were first here on this planet and evolving. It's like, okay, is a tiger trying to attack me right now? Or is a shark going to eat me when I'm fishing in the sea? Something like that. But we evolved over time to know that, okay, actually, we have these attachments, we have these parents that take care of us. And so there's a physical sense of safety that our nervous system is picking up on. And there's also an emotional sense of safety because how well your parents are attuned to you or attached to you directly relates to how safe you feel, which makes sense, right? Like if your parents are really attuned to you, then they're going to take care of you, right? That makes sense. And
Mhm.
so our system knows that. And then how we're meant to be developing is that our parents attune to us and create so much safety inside of us that eventually we're able to create that safety for ourselves. But we don't live in a perfect world and we live with parents that are not just parents, they're parents, they're doctors, they're brothers, they're sisters, they're a whole magnitude of things. And so we don't always get that need met. Actually, in my experience, none of us do. Like it's various degrees, but we're not actually getting that need met. So what happens is our systems are almost basically underdeveloped and they keep looking to the outer for safety. And how we perceive safety is like, are people judging me in a good way? Are people loving me? Are people liking me? Are people including me and belonging me? Which is actually very fundamental. It goes beyond the parent thing. It's the tribal thing. Like, do I belong? If I belong, then I survive more. The biggest threat to our survival is if we don't belong. So basically, because we're underdeveloped, we're addicted to validation, approval, and likeness from others, which is a really dangerous place to be, right? Like we can't really be authentic if we're constantly judging our literal survival. Like our system really perceives it as if this person doesn't like me, as a huge threat to me. So you can see how that really hinders your life and optimization because all of a sudden you're not really acting authentically. You're acting in a way to get approval and validation and okayness. So you can see then if you're going into competition, how that would really show up. And then when your nervous system takes over, you either have too much energy or you have too little energy. So, say you're going into dressage and all of a sudden your nervous system is picking up on that you're being judged because you are, but you don't have enough safety for that. So your nervous system really starts to shut you down and you start to shrink, your shoulders start to go in, you start to lose connection with your horse, you basically start to freeze as you're doing your test. That's how that relates because once your nervous system perceives that there's not safety, you can either fight or you can shut down. So that's how it translates all the way to competition. And what we have to do is we have to teach your system that, okay, wait, I can create my own emotional sense of safety. Yes, I'm being judged and I'm okay. Yes, that person doesn't like me and I'm okay. Yes, I'm embarrassed and I'm okay. And when you can create that okayness, you can stay in the top part of your nervous system where performance can live, where optimal performance can live. There's no chance of even decent performance in the other two parts of your nervous system.
So what would the difference be between confidence and nervous system regulation, or would you say they go hand in hand?
Hmm. Ah, I have such a problem with the word confidence. And let me break that down.
Yeah.
If confidence says, I get to feel a certain way because I'm good at something. But wonder if you're not good at it yet.
Okay.
Then what?
Yeah.
Then then what? Then you're just gonna shut down? You're like, that's the problem with confidence. And confidence is conditional. It's based off of how good you are at something in any given time. And normally, once we start to not feel good at something, then the nervous system gets dysregulated because now we're not feeling as safe. We're not feeling like we belong. We're different, especially if other people are good at it, then we're the other. And now we don't belong with them. Now we're not good enough to be with them. And so, of course, the dysregulation is going to come up, right? So it's my belief that I don't want any of you relying on confidence because it's conditional. It's almost out of your control. I want you relying on something that's in your control, which is your emotional safety. So I use the word because people relate to it, but like really, let's ditch it. Like, let's get something way more unshakable than confidence. Confidence is you have no control over it. It's conditional, it's based off of circumstances, and you don't want your performance conditional. You want it unconditional. You want it reliable, and confidence isn't reliable.
That's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
I feel like you just rocked my whole world. So, at first when you said, "I don't really care for the word confidence," I was like, "Oh, like, I'm really interested to hear what this response is." And then when you explained it, I was like, "All right, I can get on board with that." Can you explain a little bit more about how you attain emotional safety?
Yeah, so it's in the last place you would look. It's in feeling what you don't wanna feel. So let's actually ground this for people because it's such a huge concept and it's really hard to understand, right? I can either make us one up or you guys can tell me of a situation where, you didn't feel where your performance was not what you wanted it, or you felt, like, really scared or embarrassed, or do you guys have one or do you want me to make one up?
Uh, well, for me, like, sometimes I have a lot of anxiety and just get scared about doing flying lead changes, and I think part of that does come back to your I don't have enough maybe situations where I've been super successful at it to feel
Yes!
extremely confident, so that kinda lines up with what you were saying.
Okay, this is amazing. Okay, yes, great example. And then it's like, okay, so now what? Like, I don't. This is. I'm new at this level. So how am I supposed to feel confident? You
Yeah,
know, I don't have the proof to say, okay, I can feel a certain way because I'm good at it. So now what? Like, that's a horrible place to be.
yeah,
And then a lot of sports psychologists or even therapists, it's like if you have anxiety, the answer to that is like, okay, well, don't like ignore it. Say something positive. Visualize how you want it to go, or think of times that you've already done it well. Well, that doesn't help. Like it doesn't help. And I can totally explain that scientifically why that doesn't help because your nervous system gets more dysregulated if you're trying to avoid something. So that makes perfect sense, right? Our nervous system comes on when we're avoiding threat, right? That's easy to understand. So when an emotion comes
yes.
up in us and we avoid it, it thinks that emotion is a threat. So then what does it do? It sends you into fight, flight, or freeze. So it's the exact wrong advice to be like, oh, think positive when you're feeling anxious or give an affirmation when you feel anxious. Because now it's literally saying something is happening that I need to avoid. That's what it's directly telling your system. So if you were my client and you had anxiety doing flying lane changes, I would say, okay, that makes perfect sense. Yeah. And I would say, "Okay, what does the anxiety say?" So what would if you were gonna let your anxiety speak, what would it say? Like, "I don't wanna do this, I'm not good at it. I don't wanna do things I'm not good at." What would it say?
You're gonna disappoint everybody around you because they've been trying hard to make you better at it.
And you can see the innocence in that, right? It's like,
Yeah.
of course you don't wanna disappoint people, so of course your nervous system is gonna see that as a threat, you know? It's like, "Oh, yeah, you don't wanna disappoint anyone. That makes perfect sense."
Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to Elevate Your Ride. We're so excited to continue helping you elevate your performance in the saddle. To keep bringing you quality content and information, we're asking you to help us. Tell your friends about us and our podcast, like and share a meaningful quote you saw on our social media, write us a review on Spotify or Facebook. You can also join our Facebook group and ask all your health and fitness questions, or maybe post a success story to motivate another amateur. Your engagement really helps us support and encourage the equestrian community. We're also inviting sponsors and supporters to help us build our show. As a sponsor, starting at just $150, you'll receive marketing on our podcast, website, and growing social media platforms for your business. It's the perfect way to connect with the equestrian community and showcase your brand to our dedicated listeners. And for our supporters, your $50 contribution gets you a shout out on our social media and website. Every bit of support really helps fuel the show and helps us inspire and motivate equestrians. So, if you're interested in learning more about that, you can scroll down to the show notes of this episode and look for the Become a Supporter or Become a Sponsor links and click on those to get some more information. Thank you for listening. We can't wait to continue expanding our platform and helping you elevate your ride.
Hey, Elevate Your Ride fans. Are you loving our show and looking for a way to show your support? Check out our line of Elevate Your Ride merchandise. From stylish t shirts to cozy hoodies to journals and hats, we have everything you need to represent your favorite podcast. Ready to gear up? Click on the Buy Our Merchandise Here link in the podcast notes, or head on over to our website, elevateyourride.co, and click on the Store tab. Thank you for your support. Make sure to like, follow, and share our platform with your friends.
And where do you feel that anxiety?
I would say maybe like my chest, my upper chest area.
Yeah, good. And there's a lot we could do here, but for the show, let's just keep it quite simple. What would you say to your horse if your horse said, "Oh, mom, I don't want to do this. I don't want to disappoint you. You've been working so hard on me on this. I might be late behind, and I don't want to feel like I'm disappointing you." What would you say to your horse?
I'd probably tell him, "Well, that's okay. We're just gonna try, and if it doesn't go well, we'll try again next time, and I'm not gonna be disappointed each time we do it. We'll get closer to being better."
Yeah. Like, you don't owe me anything, buddy. You're okay. You're
Yeah,
allowed to learn. You're allowed to get it wrong, and it doesn't mean anything about you. Would you wonder if your horse was like, "Well, it might mean that I'm not a good horse if I can't do it right now." What would you say?
I would tell him, "Well, just because you can't do it right now doesn't mean you're not going to be able to ever do it, and you're really good at a lot of other things, so we don't need to put all your worth on this one thing."
Yeah. And is your horse worthy whether or not he makes the change?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, same for you. You're worthy. No
Okay.
matter you might no matter what. And if you disappoint someone, that's their projection, has nothing to do with you. You're allowed the grace of learning. You're deeply okay. You're fuck it up. It's part of learning.
Yeah.
Mhm. And then I would have you like feel into that anxiety in your chest. What are you feeling? Has it gotten more intense or less intense?
Less.
Good. And now just for the sake of this example, just keep focusing on the anxiety. 'Cause you got what you have to do is you have to build capacity for this anxiety. It's like, "Yeah, okay. This is okay. I'm willing to feel this." And you're right now, you're teaching your nervous system, "This isn't a threat. You don't need to protect me from this."
Mhm.
So just keep focusing and keep breathing. It might get more intense. It might just keep completely dissipate. What are you noticing?
I'd say it's dissipating, and I'm wanting to do more kind of like belly breaths instead of
Good.
shallow breathing, and is that what you would recommend as well?
I don't like manipulating the breath, and I'll tell you about that later, but I like that you're naturally taking more you're noticing that your breath is just getting deeper
Mhm.
because that's a symptom of your state. I don't like to change the symptoms, I like to change the state.
Okay.
And then you'll just naturally breathe deeper. You don't have to manipulate anything. Your body's super intelligent. So I love that you're noticing the safer that you feel with this sensation, the better your breath gets. That's great. And now just like noticing this is not an affirmation, but if the anxiety is going away, if that was just a wave, what's kind of more steady? Like what do you feel? Like I am present, I am here, I'm okay.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and, more of like, "Okay, let's try it."
Yeah. There you go. And so now from this place, I just want you to visualize making changes from this place, from I'm ready, nothing to avoid.
Mhm.
What do you notice when you visualize it?
The biggest thing is that I feel I don't I need to have a better word than confidence, based on these
No,
last
I love it.
but
Let's
I
go
do
for it.
feel a lot more like assertive and,
Yes, clear.
yeah, absolutely.
And
No.
what you just did is you created freedom because you're not avoiding disappointment anymore. You can move forward. There's nothing to avoid. All your energy is just like, yeah, let's just do it.
Mhm, mhm. And can I develop that within myself before I feel the anxiety come? Or is it something that once the anxiety happens, then we go through this process and then we get better about it as it happens more and more often?
Yeah, great question. So, what happens is you are building your capacity. So, if you were in one of my programs, we would practice this all the time. And actually, there's a reason why you have an anxiety about disappointing people. And we're not going to go deep into that. But that's part of your that's part of your neural programming, and that needs to be healed because it's showing up in horses, but it's also showing up everywhere in your life that you have a
Ding,
neural
ding, ding.
yeah.
I was like, "Oh, no." She sees me.
You have a neural programming that says, "That is really dangerous. That's life-threatening." Literally, that's not an exaggeration, so
Yeah.
don't do it. So be perfect, be a people pleaser, be this, be hardworking, do anything but disappoint people. And so we would do a little bit of healing work around, okay, let's give more context to that. That's a misunderstanding. You're safe now. You're deeply okay. So now, I mean, think about the freedom you would have in your life if you weren't scared of disappointing people. Like if you could just live your life from integrity. Like it would just open your life in so many ways. So we would do that, we would kind of do the healing work and we would practice feeling your feelings a lot, which sounds simple, but we need to do it in co regulation. It's really hard to do on your own. We really protect ourselves from that vulnerability. So you need to do it over and over and over again with somebody's nervous system that's like, yeah, you're safe. There's nothing you could say or do that would trigger me or make me unsafe. And once you realize that, once your system learns that, then you start having the neural programming. Oh, feelings are okay. They're not as threatening as I thought, and then you would have less anxiety about the same thing, but you would also get better at dealing with the anxiety when it comes up. So it's twofold. But the thing is, at every single up level of our life, like you might start having anxiety about changes, but then when you do, Grand Prix or a Grand Prix test, the anxiety would come back. And so it's like we need to create a system of how to do that. And we need to create a system and a mind that doesn't avoid the issue.
Mhm.
And that takes time and
And
repetition.
yeah, are the systems pretty unique to each person based off of their, life situations and circumstances, or is there kind of a general blueprint that people can follow?
There's such a general blueprint.
Oh, really? That's
Oh
nice.
my god, humans are we're very unique in, like, different ways, but we're we're basically the exact same in our patterns. I even it's so patterned that I created this diagram, and I call it the ego spiral of avoidance, and I can map out your pattern in, like, a couple of seconds because it's so patterned, and it'll have variations in a couple of ways, but all of us do these 5 things. And there'll be variation in those 5 things. It'll be a different color, a different texture, but, it's so patterned.
Can you share with us what those 5 things are?
Yeah, and let's take you. Let's just keep going with this example. So, you had the anxiety, right?
Uh-huh.
And and you don't have capacity for disappointing people. You don't have capacity for that. So you have taught your system to avoid that. That's threatening, okay? So
Uh-huh.
when something is threatening, then we start to spiral away from an emotion. That's when our thoughts get really like, God, you hear people like, my mind just goes crazy, right? Because actually, your mind is an employee of the nervous system. So if there's something to avoid in your body, in your system, your mind's like, dot 'em. I'll just make you think about everything. And so your first thing that happens is because you want to avoid disappointing people, and I probably can predict what you do, but you either defend, prove, protect, or perfect. And what do you think that you tend to go to in an avoidance of disappointing people?
Probably perfect it.
Perfect. Yeah.
I agree with I was gonna say Lauren perfects.
I mean, I already know it from briefly this brief conversation, right? Okay. And then somehow we argue with reality. This is where there's some variation, but your mind then gets in the drama and it'll come up in a should or shouldn't statement. I should be able to do this. I've been working on this for years. Or like I didn't hear this at all in you, but like other people will be like, "Oh, my horse should already be able to know. Like, why is this so hard for them?" Or it shouldn't be this hard. It'll argue with reality in some way. And then it'll judge others or the situation. Like, "Oh, my coach," and I didn't hear this in you, but like it'll start to project this disappointment onto something else. Like, "Oh, the coach's disappointment or the warm up arena was disappointing or whatever. Something about the situation or the others should have been different in some way." And then to keep yourself really stuck, and this is where you'll probably answer this pretty easily, you judge yourself. And so what do you judge yourself as? When you disappoint someone or when you don't get it perfect, what is your conditioned mind or your ego offer about you? What does it say? Like, "Oh, you're just not good enough. You should have tried hard enough."
Yeah, kind of all of those things. A lot of,
Yeah.
even though, like, rationally, I can say that, "Hey, I've put in the time, I've put in the work, and I haven't slacked in any area," but emotionally, it definitely feels like, "Well, you know what? You just didn't try hard enough, and if you would have tried a little harder, maybe you wouldn't have disappointed everyone."
Yeah.
Which we literally just talked about
Yes.
on a recent we literally talked about this a couple days ago on an episode.
Yeah. So you didn't try hard enough, and what does your ego make it mean about you that you didn't try hard enough? That it's probably more global, that just in general, you're not enough. Some flavor
Yeah,
of that.
yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say worth, uh, lower worth, lower I don't
Yeah.
wanna say worthless, but
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
basically that, right?
Yeah. And this is the last question, but how familiar is that feeling?
Mm, I hate to admit it, but probably every day, every other day.
Yeah, exactly. And it's probably started really early life, like I would say somewhere between 7 and 14.
So, that was one of the questions that I did have. Can this kind of happen later? Because and maybe you people talk to you about this too, but I feel like I look back and I thought that my childhood and regulation was, incredible. Can things change later as life kind of affects you?
Oh, yeah. But I will say, so looking back at your childhood, and this is I want to hold on before I even get into this. My line of work, and I want to make this very clear, is never about blaming our parents.
Yeah.
That's really an immature thing to do. And I think personal development world and like all these boundaries and labeling people as this and that, biologically everybody is doing the best that they can. A
Mhm.
cancer cell is doing the best it can with the resources it has. It just doesn't have enough resources. The truth is the cancer cell separated and now it's duplicating from the separation, but is doing its best. So everybody's doing the best that they can, but it doesn't mean that we got everything that we were meant to get. And it doesn't mean that bad things happened to us. It could have been good things didn't happen to us. Like good
Mhm.
things didn't happen, such as we didn't just get celebrated when we were doing nothing. We only got celebrated when we were achieving, or just very nuanced things, right? And
Yeah.
biologically, there's always something, we have this thing where we don't actually like to blame our parents. I call it stage one, where we look back and we're like, things were perfect. And like everything's great. And then there's stage 2 where you start to allow yourself, because you do have more safety, to see, oh yeah, that didn't happen optimally, or when my coach said this to me, I actually took it really personally. And it's because we go through this part of our development called the egocentric part of our development, and we kind of get stuck there actually because we don't get enough safety in our system. So we get stuck in this place. And there's no other way for our brains. Like you said, logically,
Mm,
remember you said that logically, I know,
yeah,
right? That developed later. That
okay.
that developed way later. So you have a more primitive part of your brain and a part of your development called the egocentric part of your development that says anything that happened to me is because of me. So my mom's late to pick me up. It's because I didn't deserve for her to be on time. I mean, there's literally no other way for your brain to perceive those things. Logically, looking back, you can say, oh, my mom was working 2 jobs. She was amazing. She still made it. She was only 5 minutes late. But when you're a child and everybody else's mom is there exactly on time with a snack in hand and your mom is late, you make it mean that you don't deserve that. So it's it's really tricky, right? Like, and
Yeah.
it's not that we need, and it's not my line of work to like get stuck there forever. We don't. It's a 4-month, like, let's get some context. But why that's important is because you are the way you are for a very obvious reason, and because your brain made misunderstandings. Like I call them misunderstandings when your brain says, "I'm not deserving," or "I have to be perfect to get love." I call those misunderstandings because your brain is making all this meaning of these really innocent situations.
Mhm.
But you didn't have the mechanism to say, "Hey, remember mom works 2 jobs and she loves you so much." You don't have that part of your brain yet. So you have to look backwards. And the more that you do, and again, we don't get stuck there, but the more you kind of see, oh wow, I did have some stuff. And then maybe bigger things happened later that confirmed that misunderstanding, that really like okay, that's where I developed that. That's more the path. But of course, there are some times that like, yeah, more or less that nothing really, no misunderstandings happen. I mean, there's no way you didn't form misunderstandings, but yes, like bigger T traumas can happen later in life
Okay.
that more reinforce something.
Yeah, that's just so interesting, and it all makes so much sense when you explain it all, and I love how you called it misunderstandings because that also makes you feel a little bit better of, it doesn't have to be this traumatic
No,
experience in childhood
no.
to still form who you are and in a both good and maybe anxious ways.
Yeah, good and anxious ways, yeah, and it's my kind of belief that, "Hey, this is the human experience. We're not doing humans any services by acting like this isn't the reality of our development." Like, I personally think we should be like, take full responsibility for how we develop, honor how we develop, and then just make the interventions that are necessary. Like, we would never be like, "This piece of shit car when it needs an oil change," you know? We'd be like, "Oh, yeah, this is how cars are designed. They need updating and oil changes." Or like, when the iPhone comes up with a new update, we're not like freaking out that it needs a new update. That's quite normal for us, right? Well, we're systems. We need updates. And I think it's not honoring of who and what we are. It's not honoring of really simple biology and psychology to be like, we don't need updates. But for some reason in culture, we kind of think of therapy and updates and looking back as like, oh, something huge had to happen, or like, or it's for weak people, or it's for people that can't cope. And no, it's really just it's about optimization. And this is how we're designed. This is how we're programmed. And hey, great, because people figured out how to reprogram, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So how could somebody know if they need an update or a reprogramming of their nervous system?
Well, every single person on the planet. Like, you didn't escape, you didn't escape your egocentric part of your development. You didn't escape a lack of emotional attunement, like, none of us got out unscathed. And I would say some people don't recognize it because they're not even going after the goals. They're limiting themselves. It's like they're a fish in water and they don't even know they're in water. But people that are really ambitious notice their patterns because they start to feel limited. And so they start to feel like, "Oh, I'm meant for more, but why is more so hard?" You know? And that's when you really know. Like, when you're really getting stuck in a place that you don't wish to be, that you wish to progress from, that's a really good indication. Or if you're just not enjoying life, life just feels like a checklist and like an obligation after the next, that's a pretty good indication. Like, life on this side of things, everything is enjoyable. Like, I just love life. I love every part of it. Like, this is not just like I don't have a gratitude list. Like, I live in a state of gratitude for good, bad, for it all. Like, I can't believe life can be this beautiful. And there was definitely a time in life where, I mean, I was just trudging through, just surviving it, trying to just get 1% better. And we don't have to suffer like that. We just have to know about our biology and our psychology, do some updates, and know that we need to do updates at every up level. And it's amazing.
Yeah, that's really inspiring. Like, just so nice to hear that you are excited about life and every single day and that, the things that you've done have given you that peace and that joy and fulfillment to be
Yeah.
able to experience that.
Exactly, and what's so cool is I mean, of course, I'm doing exciting things and cool things that I'm really proud about, but that internal state isn't conditional to anything outer. Like, it's not because, "Oh, I make this amount of money," or "I have this amount of clients," or "I have this client." It's completely unconditional. It's just for the essence of being alive. And from that place, you're actually way more productive because you're in a want state. You're not in a need state at that point. It's like, "What do I wanna do?" And you have the tools and the ability to do it, and you're not stuck, well, like, "Oh, well, what's logical? What's the best move? Will that make money? Will that get validation? Will people like if I do that?" You're not stuck in that limbo anymore. You're just like, "What do I wanna create?" And you just follow that intelligence, and you have the tools to do it, which is really cool.
Are you looking for that extra competitive edge, struggling with show pen anxiety, or looking to set and achieve meaningful goals with your horse? Schedule a session with me, Lauren, your dedicated mindset coach. As an experienced competitor, I understand the mental demands required to excel at the highest level, and am here to support you in building a plan to help you stay accountable and reaching those goals. For more information, check out laurencervelli.com or click on the website link in our show notes. Let's work together to elevate your ride.
Hi, everyone. It's your personal trainer, Ellie. If you're looking to become a stronger, more balanced, and flexible rider, I'm here to help. I offer virtual personal training sessions and customized workout plans that you can complete on your own. As a fellow competitor, I understand the physical demands riding requires, and my goal is to help you perform your best for your horse, whether you're preparing for a show or just want to improve your everyday rides. Visit lopeanddowntherailfitness.com or click on my website tab in the notes of this podcast episode to learn more. Let's work together to elevate your ride. I like how you said that your happiness is coming from you internally, not externally. And I definitely fall into that pattern because I will link my success with my business with how much money I'm making, how many clients I have, how are my clients doing? And then also when I go to show, how am I achieving the goals with the horse? Am I doing well in the show pen? Am I making my trainer happy? Like, I totally fall into that needing those external motivators. Is my family proud of me? Is my husband proud of me? All those things. So I like how you said that it's important to make sure that that happiness is coming internally, not externally.
Oh, it's so important, and not only is it important, like, it's more productive. Like, I always like to point out, like,
Yeah.
I don't just like this work because we get to feel good and, like, sit in a circle and not be a part of society, you know? Like, I'm not a monk in the Himalayas. Like, I love to optimize, I love to perform, I love to achieve, but I'm not making the misunderstanding that that's who and what I am anymore. I'm not making the misunderstanding that when I have a failure or a setback, that I'm a failure or a setback. And and that is a powerful place to be, and it makes you more productive and it makes you more successful.
So how do you go about attacking? Well, maybe not attacking. How do you go about?
Attacking,
tr-
yeah, let's attack it. Let's get it.
yes. How do you go about making that shift?
Oh my god, how much time do you have? Well,
I figured that would be your
yeah.
answer.
So I'll try to be, I mean, you guys have noticed I'm not very quick at answering questions. So,
No,
but
it's perfect.
I will try to be as quick as I can. So the ego, and let's define what an ego is because I think people have a lot of different definitions, but what I mean and a lot of what science means when we say ego is the conditional part of you. The part of you that says like I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm an equestrian, I'm a husband, I'm a wife, I'm a whatever. Well, you were you before any of those things, you know? And also that part of you that says, I'm not an Olympian, like, or I'm not capable of going up a level, or, puts all these limitations on you. Well, you were you before you knew that limitation. So there's something more essential than that part of you. And that part of you, the ego, is the mechanism of it is it's never enough. It's trying to unconsciously motivate us to keep evolving. Like we are at the base, we are nature. So we came here to actualize. We came here to expand, just like like a tree comes here to give fruit or to fully grow and give shade and clean our oxygen. We came here to actualize. We are all here to actualize in a different way, but maybe somebody's here to actualize to be an Olympian or to be, world number one at something or be a great podcaster or whatever that is. And so the ego is trying to unconsciously motivate you to do that thing, but it's making a lot of meaning and it's identifying with everything. It's identifying when you are a success, it says you're a success. And then inevitably when you fail, it says you're a failure, and that's the mechanism of the ego. And so we've gotten it confused where we say, "Oh, that's me." That's not you. You were you before all that. You were you before you failed. So who were you before that? And so a good analogy for this is like you're the ocean floor, but you're mistaking yourself as a wave. And so what I help people understand and get to embody and get to really know is that more essential part of you. And then in a lot of therapies and a lot of sports psychology and other techniques, they kind of aim to make the waves less intense. They kind of aim to make you a lake, and that's missing the point entirely. Like entirely. The waves are meant to expand you, to create more capacity, to make your ocean floor even more expansive and powerful. Like you don't want to be a lake. You want to be an ocean. But you don't want to get so wrapped up in every single wave. You wanna just be like, "Oh, there's another wave." That's exactly what oceans do, they create waves. The ocean never thinks it's the wave, it knows it's the ocean floor, it knows it's the thing holding it all. And when you get confused and you think you're the wave, then every emotion is so like something to either avoid or put toxic positivity on and create a gratitude list. And it just becomes this whole big thing where you could just honor what you are, see that that's a wave happening, embrace it, and move on. And so that's the most important thing that you have to, and it's a system and you can learn it, but you have to stop identifying with every single wave. You have to meet the deeper part of you. And then you can let the waves happen as they should. Like, yes, you're going to fail. That's going to happen all the time. You're also going to succeed. That's also going to happen. And neither which are you. And so you have to know the difference between the two, and it makes you way more effective. And knowing that, you also kind of have to create, or at the same time, I guess, or a symptom or a result of that is creating your own safety. So you create your own safety so that you're not getting the safety from the waves. You see?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then you
L
can just be like, okay, this is what I want. So like whatever it is, like, okay, I want $100,000 or I want whatever the number is. And you're allowed to want what you want. Your desires are intelligent. Actually, the root word of desire is from the Father. So, meaning from God, meaning from like you have your desires to keep calling you forward, to keep moving past your waves, right? And so you set that desire, and then you know that waves are going to come up trying to get there. You just don't take them so personally, but you stay highly involved moving towards that desire, knowing that in that movement towards there's going to be lots of ways, none of which are you.
So let's use poor Lauren as an example. If
Lauren.
Lauren if Lauren worked on her safety, her perfectionism, her desire to please, how would that impact her life and in the saddle?
In ways you can't even imagine right now. She would be free. She would go to lessons, not afraid to make mistakes. So, therefore, it's a catalyst for learning. She would take responsibility for her desires, not caring if it made someone proud or disappointed. Just like, this is what I want. This is what I'm going for. It'd make you more clear, more in motion. I mean, just imagine going to a lesson not worried about disappointing your coach or your horse. Just there, just I am. Nothing to prove, nothing to perfect, just
Do people
pure.
do that?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now. Yeah. This could be a really intimidating situation, Like, you don't know me, you've, like, I could be trying to prove here. I could be thinking, "Oh my god, are they liking what I'm saying? Oh my god, is this okay? Is this good enough?" But instead, I'm just like, "This is me and this is integrity, and we'll see what happens," you know?
Mhm,
And it's not that you don't take feedback. Like, if I listen to this podcast and I notice that, "Oh, I didn't quite explain that right," or, "Man, I wish I would have said this here," or, "My tone quite wasn't exact right," I'll take that feedback. But what I won't do is, "You're a piece of shit. You're not good enough. Don't ever do that again. Who did you think you were?" I mean, my ego might, but I won't take it seriously. I'll be like, "Oh, Angel, that's so cute. Come here," you know? And
mhm.
I'll keep moving towards what I want. So Lauren could do the same, you could just, and imagine the catalyst for growth if you weren't afraid to make mistakes. As humans, we learn by opposites and relativity. So if you ever want to be good at something, you have to be bad at something. It's just part of it. And we're dishonoring of who and what we are. And we're trying to be perfect all the time, which doesn't work. We actually have to fail to learn. Not hugely, we can micro fail all the time, but that's how we learn. And if we're trying to avoid that, we're going to stay pretty much stuck. So imagine if you could just go and be I am, like just presence experiencing your lesson, like presence experiencing trying to get better. Like your whole life would change.
Yeah, rather than feeling like I needed to kind of manhandle my way through it, right? Of like, okay, you just have to grin and bear it. Just keep doing it. Just keep doing it, right?
Yeah, oh, no, we don't have to grit and bear it. But we do have to create our capacity to feel things we don't wanna feel so that we can allow ourselves to have this freedom in the moment, and that is an amazing place to be.
Yeah. So, is it best to be able to have somebody like you to talk to kind of work through and develop this?
It's imperative. Like,
Mhm.
I'm in a weird spot because I'm like, "Hey, listen to all this cool stuff," and then, "Oh, you have to work with somebody," but it's just honoring of the system. Your system prefers to co-regulate, which means to do it with other that has safety. So, we have to honor that. It's basically impossible to do on your own. I mean, I could give you the exact formula, I could give you all of the materials, and you wouldn't get a tenth of the results. You h
It's the same for me. So, like, am a personal trainer for equestrians. I could write somebody the perfect workout plan and send it to them, but if I'm not the one coaching them through it, they won't get the benefit out of it. So I totally
exactly.
relate to that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You have to do it in co-regulation, and you have to do it with somebody that deeply understands, and that also what I really see people get wrong is people don't understand that they're the ocean floor, like your therapist, your sports psychologist, these other people that really haven't done the deepest level of work. They get confused and they start identifying with the waves because they haven't met the ocean floor either. So then when you have a wave and it's a really big wave, maybe it's a really big wave, they start to get scared too and they want to like dampen the wave. And you really have to work with somebody that's like, yeah, it's a wave. And we do the same process. You embrace it, you feel what you don't want to feel, you sit through that uncomfortability, and then you come out the opposite. And that's where I see where people really get hung up is they really buy into the wave. I mean, and to their defense, it's really convincing sometimes.
Yeah, that's great. So it sounds like I'm gonna be scheduling some sessions with you.
That's how it sounds like. Huh. Yeah, I mean, I can't recommend it enough with me or anyone else that does something similar. I mean, it's life-changing. It's life-changing to look at why I'm behaving, and I think that's just me, and really it's just a pattern I picked up to get love, approval, and validation. And
Mhm.
when I give that myself, I can put down the pattern and I can live outside of a pattern, which therefore, if you're not a pattern, then you're unlimited.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I definitely think we'll need to do this, and then it would be really interesting, to come back on and we can talk about how, uh, the lead changes, if they've gotten better and
They
how
will.
everything's been feeling better, especially right now is a great time to have these types of conversations being the beginning of show season, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who are, you know, going to go be judged and are nervous about it. Do you have
Yeah.
do you have any little pieces of advice that we can give to our listeners for stepping in the show pen for the first time in 2025?
Yeah, the biggest advice I can give you guys is don't be surprised when you have anything other than a positive emotion. Like, it's okay. It's normal. And I can guarantee you I work with top athletes and I work with amateurs and there's no difference. They feel it too. They're just handling it in a different way, or the skill is so developed that it doesn't matter. But you're not alone. Like if you are feeling nervous, anxious, embarrassed, scared, worried, that's super normal. And if you want to get stuck in it, shame yourself for having it. But if you want to get free from it, know that it's completely valid, it's deeply okay, and try what we did with Lauren, like, try turning towards it, try allowing it to speak, and then try to embrace it on the mind level of responding to it like you would your horse, and on a embodied level of just feeling the sensation. And again, it's hard to do on your own, but I think just the insight that this is normal, because I think we start to think that we're not normal for getting nervous or worried, and we start to think that there's something wrong with you, and there's nothing wrong with you. Your system is responding perfectly, and you just didn't get the owner's manual yet.
Yeah, I love that. So thank you for sharing all of that you did, and we really should have you back on, and I'm serious about, working with you, so
Yeah,
maybe
well,
in the
you
future we
you
can
should.
figure out how to do that.
Yeah, yeah, I would love to tell you guys. It's actually a really good time because, like, one of my programs that's my founding program that's foundational for everything called How to Heal is happening in February. and it's my 6th time running it, and it's the best thing ever. Like, the people get just incredible results. You walk away with friendships and people on your side and a community that's all up leveling and doing the same work, and they're all equestrians too, so it's amazing.
And would you recommend that versus a one-on-one?
Yeah, actually, I require it
Oh,
because like I said, you actually need so many times of co-regulating before self-regulating, and the group is a catalyst for that because you're going to feel quite safe with me quite quickly. Like I'm not going to judge you. You're going to know that pretty quickly, but you can see somebody on the screen that, oh man, I feel a little vulnerable in front of them, but I can coach you through that, and then you can be like, "Wow, that actually wasn't as threatening that I thought." And all of a sudden now you're connecting and collaborating, and it's a catalyst for growth to be in a group. Super catalyst in this type of work.
that's great. And how can people find this group?
Right now, the thing is to go to my website, you put in your email, you get on a wait list, and I think we'll open up the wait list quite soon because the course starts in February. And then you'll fill out an application, and then, yeah, you'll get emails about the program and all this. It'll be quite self-explanatory, but the first step is going to the website, nataliehummelcoaching.com, and putting your name and email in.
Perfect.
Okay. Is there anything else that we wanna cover before we wrap it up?
No, I mean, I think the only thing I would say just at the very wrap is, like, people really struggle, and they struggle kind of silently, and they're as we saw even with Lauren, like, I mean, Lauren, you're even on the very successful side of things, so imagine other people, like, that don't even have the proof of their ego, and they're of like, "Hey, no, I've done this and this." Like, there's people really struggling and really believing that that's who and what they are and what they're capable of doing, and it's couldn't be further from the truth. Like, we all have the same human potential inside of us, and you just need to learn the manual to really get it uncovered. And so don't buy into the limitations that you're perceiving right now. There's a world that's unlimited out there, and it's for you too. You're included in that.
I
I
love
love
that. I think
that.
that was a perfect way to wrap it up. I do have just like one side question that we don't have to include on the podcast, but so everything that you're saying about feeling internally is definitely like spot on. What is it about the human nature that, makes you put on a facade and feel like nobody else can ever really see that or notice that, right?
Yeah, it's because of that. As humans, if we're put in the position to connect with someone or have our authenticity, we'll choose connection because we're wired that connection equals safety equals survival. So if we're noticing that people turn towards us more if we're perfect or we act this way or that way, we'll do that, even if it's not authentic to us. And that goes deeper, that's like a pretty easy one to understand. And it's just the way we're wired. We're wired that connection equals safety, which equals survival. And so we'll always choose that over authenticity until we can insource our own safety, and then when we do that, then we can cut out the middleman. Then we're not trying to gain it from the outer. We're not trying to gain it from our partner, our parent, our coach. We've directly met the need, and then it allows that authenticity, and more than authenticity, because some people may be listening or even you are like, I don't give a shit about authenticity. I want to perform.
Yeah.
Um, which I would have completely related. I'm like, I don't care. Like, as long as I'm performing well, then I'll do anything, right? But when you're not acting authentic, or another way of saying that is an integrity, then you're acting as a pattern, which is limited by nature. So if you want to get out of the pattern, you have to insource your safety so that you can act within integrity, therefore perform better.
Brilliant. Yeah. Makes so much sense.
So much sense, right? It's so easy. It's like, it's really simple once you know a few things.
Yeah, I'm excited for February. I can't wait to
Yes!
tune in and
It's gonna
look
be
at
the best. It's the
yeah, it
best.
sounds like it.